River, an ARMELLO story. The setup. River came out from the building and took a deep breath, trying to suffocate the growing sense of alarm ringing in her head. But the images of those worms, eating and rotting the fresh flesh, kept dancing in her mind. Rot in Southbank. And Thane had been in contact with it. She didn't have a proof about it, but she couldn't doubt it. The howling arrow looked around and saw the guard who escorted her. Ruth seemed lost in its thought, with a frown on his face. Its eyes were looking at something that wasn't in that narrow street. The ranger approached the guard without being noticed. So much so that when she called him, the raccoon almost jumped in fright. "Ah! Ranger Sky!" "Thank you for the escort, Guard Ruth. I intend to go back to the Podesta mansion to confer with him." Yes, follow me." And the young guard started to walk with demeanor, trying to recover from the scare. The return to the Podesta house was easy and quick, despite all the town folks and the market. Even the entrance at the mansion was swift and silent. But when they went up to the study, on the hallway, they heard two voices arguing.
Did Lady Freya send the permission to proceed with the investigation?
Unfortunately, as I told you before, the letter has not yet arrived. I seem to have assured you that you would be the first to know.
Sure, but I heard rumors of a ranger coming to Southbank this morning from the Wolf clan's capital.
The rangers from the Vale came as a representative of the dead mother to inform me of her decision to give you permission to proceed.
Just this? They send a ranger and not a messenger for this?
This is a private and informal information that will be confirmed by the arrival of the letter. Moreover, a messenger would take twice as long, and we know the time is short, just as some shortness have been found in some of your dogs here in Southbank.
Excuse me?
Since your patrol came into our town, there have been scuffles and complaints for the conduct of your guards. You're here because of the king's will, but you mustn't forget that you are in the Wolf clan territory, and I am the Podesta.
For now, the accusations against the Prince of Blade are grave, and if your involvement in the discovery, action will be taken.
As I said before, I have no idea where is Prince Thane.
Doesn't the ranger know too?
There was a deep and heavy moment of silence, like a stone fallen into a pond, and whose waves spread beyond the room. Ruth, visibly shaking, took a step back, but on the contrary, River knocked at the door with no visible emotion. She opened the door and stayed at the threshold, studying those presents. Glabgat was sitting at his desk with an apparent calm look on his muzzle. On the contrary, the jutting veins on the captain's guard neck were a clear sign of the boxer irritability. Its drooping lips were almost lifting to show the canine.
"Ranger Sky, welcome back. Let me introduce you, the King's Guard's captain, Rough Peacewood."
The wolf made a respectful nod, and the boxer returned dryly, speaking with arrogant tone.
I heard you arrived today.
"Yes, Captain Peacewood.
I'm here as a representative of the dead mother, to know and verify the accuses against Thane Grayman, Prince of Blades.
Or to find him and let him escape, right?
It was visible from his ill-concealed annoyance that he was impatient and unwilling to help. But River didn't accept the provocation, and the captain didn't let her speak.
Let me be clear. Any action to favor the fugitive will be considered betrayal against the king, and there will be an immediate bounty on your head, Ranger Sky. Podesta, I'll wait your letter of permission.
And with his helmet under his arm, the captain walked out from the study with martial steps. Podesta Glabgat stood up and passed River to close the door behind the captain's back. Only when the two wolves were alone in the room, Glabgat allowed himself a little sigh of relief. He then turned towards River, and both exchanged a silent look. Finally, the old red wolf went back to his desk.
The encounter with the bone setter was productive?
Yes, he gave me the information I was looking for.
Was it exhaustive?
Plenty. This town have a fine bone setter.
Thank you. Need any more aid?
Yes, Podesta. I need to talk to whoever found the body.
Yes, it's reasonable. Who you're searching is Master Monty Fink.
Ruth!
That little futile pause before answering the ranger was enough for River to stiffen up, while the raccoon almost rushed into the room after, once again, being called by the Podesta. The howling arrow observed in silence the changing between them, and when the guard went out to fetch the witness, the red wolf talked first with a pinch of melancholy.
He's a fine lad.
You seem particularly demanding over him.
I am, but it's for the best. When another will take my place in this chair, Ruth must be ready to deal with any attitude towards him.
Those words were apparently wise, but River felt a looming sensation, her eyes scanning the room around her, searching through the libraries and the books for a crack or a hole where the unknown spy was listening to them. Can you give me more information about this Master Monty Fink?
He is a fabric merchant who travels between Southbank and Arrow Rest. That night he swore he saw a wolf shadow running away from the dead body.
How can he be so sure?
According to his testimony, he was very close when he unfortunately saw the murder.
River slowly crossed her arms and stopped talking, waiting with growing concern of the situation. There was no way to take Thane back to Stone Bluff with an innocent verdict. But despite the loyalty towards the Wolf Clan, she didn't want to drag the Podesta in the prince's escape. He didn't deserve it. Minutes passed before the sound of the knocking door cut the silence between the two wolves.
Come in.
The witness entered with a fast pace and made a fancy bow while speaking to the Podesta.
Good day, Podesta Glabgat. Good day to you, Master Fink. I introduce you Ranger Sky from Stone Bluff.
He was a rat, with fine clothes and a friendly grin on his face. He looked at River with innocent curiosity and made a second bow, answered by the nod of the head of the female wolf.
Ranger Skies is here on the behalf of the dead Mother Freya, for the inquiry against Prince Thane. As a key witness, the ranger wants to ask you a few questions about what you saw the night of the murder.
Well, of course, I'm glad to aid in this unpleasant situation.
River observed the merchant in silence. There were no rings on his fingers or symbols in his clothes to indicate a guild, a family, or a brand of some sort. Odd. The rat turned his head and brown eyes toward the howling arrow, who noticed in the grinning smile a sparkle of gold, probably a tooth. Master Fink, may I ask you which guild you belong to?
My business is small, Lady Sky, and I work for myself.
It must be hard traveling from Southbank to Arrow Rest alone, without any help or protection. Arrow Rest was a small town in the Rat Clan territory, and for a small merchant that usually meant one thing: payoff, in obligatory exchange of the protection from the clan itself.
Well, you could say I'm one lucky merchant.
And a grinning liar. About the night of the murder, what can you recall, Master Fink? What happened?
Well, as I said before to the podesta, I was walking back to my room in Dove's Nest Inn when I heard a terrible scream in a nearby lane. I ran over it and I saw a massive pond of blood and a bear on the ground, and standing next to her, a looming shadow of the wolf, a bloody axe in his hand.
And from that moment, River stopped to believe every new word came out from that rat mouth. Already the scream in the lane at night, in the middle of the town, that didn't wake up anyone except alarming that lonely merchant. Then the axe instead of a sword, as the bone setter told her, was more a confirmation of her suspicion. And above all, it was that damn rat himself. He was steady despite the witnessing of a murder. He was calm and almost recited his testimony as a poem, with a bit of a performance like a bard or a liar.
And I called the guard as fast as I can.
Thank you, Master Fink. Your witness perfectly cleared the situation. It was a perfect framing against Thane the Prince of Blade, and a hit against the entire wolf clan. But that wasn't the most frustrating thing for River. The rat looked straight into the ember eyes of the howling arrow, and once again grinned with a concealed satisfaction.
I'm glad I was able to help the podesta and the wolf clan.
The ranger just nodded with the head and exchanged a glance with the podesta, who called again route and let the guard escort the rat outside the room and the palace, while the howling arrow talked to the red wolf. I need to find a room for the night before going back to Stonebluff. No need, Ranger Sky. As an emissary of the Den Mother, it will be my pleasure to host you here in the palace. At the beginning, River wanted to refuse the invitation. The idea of continuously being listened to or spy started to get on her nerves, but she clenched her fists and bowed a little her head towards Glubgut. Thank you, Podesta. I'll accept your kind invitation.